Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is for you. Welcome back to another Division 2 video. My name is Prime and today I'm gonna show you the Excuro build, the FireCrest 2.0, burn everything to a crisp and still do some damage with your gun. Yes, this is a kind of hybrid build that will help you burn everybody and of course shred them down with your gun as well. This is a beautiful, beautiful combination, and there are a few combinations for this build possible, but this is how I like to play it. I still like to use my gun while I use a skill build, and that's why we went for this FireCrest 2.0 build. You can put it in the middle and you can burn everybody to a crisp, beam them down and just go to the next area. It is a lot of fun to play with. I'm not saying this is the best build out there. I'm not saying this is the hardest hitting build out there, but it's definitely a lot of fun. A new gear set, a new build, so let's have some fun with it and let's dive right into the build because it's enough gameplay, enough intro, so let's get it started. And there we are. This is the build that you just saw and I just described. This is my Excuro FireCrest 2.0 build, and in my opinion this is the most fun to run with, as you can still do damage with your gun next to, of course, that flaming 360 turret. Starting with our specialization, we chose for the technician specialization, and why? Mainly for our extra skill tier that gives us an opportunity to jump over to a different core attribute, and then as you can see we're jumping over to the reds. Then over to my guns, I'm using the capacitor, and why the capacitor? Of course, as this comes with capacitance. Shooting enemies builds up a stack of a cap of 40, and each stack grants 1.5% skill damage, and after 5 seconds stack decay 1 per second. For each yellow core, you gain 7.5% weapon damage as well, and that's why our capacitor almost hit for 130k, but of course, don't forget, this has 20% extra weapon damage on there as an expertise, and this is just hands down the best gun to go for. I went for the Pyromaniac for my secondary, and why the Pyromaniac? Of course, because this comes with perfectly ignited. Deal 25% weapon damage to burning enemies, and after 3 kills applies burning to the next enemy you hit. I chose to go for 2 times, or 3 times, my bad, critical hit chance, and 20 extra rounds minus the reload speed as the mods on there, and I went for damage to target out of cover. I can still optimize the health damage a little bit, but that's something for later. Then for the handgun, you can choose for whatever you like. Go for something that you don't have proficient yet, because that will save you in donating duplicates or of course materials. So let's get over to the rest of the build, and we're running around with the Ortiz Excuro. Yes, this is the new gear set that was introduced with Season 2. 2 pieces will give us 20% increased burn duration and 15% skill health. 3 pieces will give us an extra 40% burn damage, but we're doing it for the 4 pieces, the Ortiz Incendiary Turret prototype. The Incendiary Turret spins 360 degrees and you are immune to your own Incendiary Turret's fire, and the Incendiary Turret explodes when disabled. You are not protected from that explosion. Yes, you are protected or you are immune to your own fire, but not for that explosion. So if it's almost down, stay away from your turret or else you will explode yourself. That's something that we do not want. For everything on this build, or almost everything, we went for skill haste and a skill haste mod on there, because we know we need to get that skill haste down, as we are running around with 6 core yellows and it doesn't boost your skill haste. So if you don't go for skill haste, it will be around 60 seconds cooldown, and now we are around at 25 seconds of cooldown. So we went for skill haste on every single thing. If you go for my knee pads, as you can see, skill haste on there. If you see my gloves, skill haste on there. But for the gloves, I changed it to weapon damage, because we already have an extra skill tier from our specialization, so I could lose an extra skill tier, and of course I chose for weapon damage. Then for my backpack, I went again for skill haste and a skill haste mod on there. And why the backpack? Because the backpack gives us an extra 25% weapon damage to enemies that were set on fire by the Ortiz incendiary turret prototype, and the turret has an extra 25% range on there. And that's why we chose to go for the backpack, because of course, like I explained, I love to shoot with my gun as well. I'm not sitting in the corner waiting until my skills have done the job. No, I like to shoot as well, and that's why I went for this backpack, giving us an extra 25% weapon damage. And like I said, again, I went for skill haste and skill haste mod on there. Then over to my other two pieces, and that will be Brazos. And why Brazos? Because Brazos will activate 10% skill haste and an extra skill tier. So again, we can lose another skill tier, and we're running around with that named Brazos holster, the Picaros, that already gives us an extra core with that extra weapon damage. Again, I went for skill haste, and you wanna find it this way so you can roll the armor core away for some extra skill haste. Then for my second piece of Brazos, and that will be my chest piece. Again, this activates an extra skill tier, so again, we could roll that weapon damage over the armor core of Brazos. And I found it with skill damage and critical hit chance on there. I would love to see it with skill damage and skill haste on there, so we can put the skill haste down a little bit more. And again, I chose to go for skill haste mod, and I went for glass cannon. Yes, this is one of my only builds that I run with glass cannon. Glass cannon does a lot of damage, but of course it also is very, very dangerous for yourself. But now, because we're throwing that turret on and we are making sure that everybody is on fire, they will not aggro you. So it is a very, very good choice to go for glass cannon, because this not only boosts your weapon damage, but also boosts your skills. And we of course want that, especially if we keep setting people on fire, and that's why I chose for glass cannon. And if glass cannon is a little bit too risky for you, you could, for example, of course, go for spark as well, but this only boosts your weapon damage and not your skill damage, and it will only be 15%. You are a lot less squishy, so if you want to go for it, I would go for spark. And that's pretty much the whole setup of the build. And then going over to my skills, of course. And the first one is, of course, the turret, the incendiary turret, because this changes into that 360 turret. I have it on skill tier 6, and I chose to go for 5% burn damage, 7.5% duration, and 7.5% skill haste as the mods on there. And for my secondary, I went for the Artificer Hive. And why? Because this can boost your turret. I throw out the turret, I throw out the hive next to each other, so the skill gets boosted and gets repaired. It doesn't do that much for you, so if you want to go, for example, for Revive Hive, or you want to go for an extra skill, for a drone, for example, go for it. But for this build, I went for the Artificer Hive. So yeah, this is pretty much the whole overview of the build. We can check the turret out real quick. It has a health of 6.3 million. It does a damage of 36,000. And it does a burn damage of almost 150,000. And that's why this thing can just shred through everything. You can let the turret do the talking, or you can start shooting yourself as well. The stats don't really matter, because we don't build towards blues, we don't build towards survivability, and I showed all the stats of the skills already. So that's pretty much it. Let me know in the comments down below how you built this build. Did you think about this combination already? And let me know if you made it. How do you like it? I like it a lot. It is a lot of fun to play with, and it's something different. And if you're still here, you are a freaking legend, staying until the end. Thank you very much for that. If you like the video, like the video. And of course, if you're new here and you want to be updated about the Division 2, the upcoming Division 3, and the Division universe, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. PurePrime out.